Hello, my birdies, and welcome back to Robin's Reading Nest. If you're new here, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you may be updated when I post or go live here on my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Robin's Reading Nest. Please go through my channel and explore my previous reviews. My last review was on Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. Click here to see that review. Today's book is We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Tirado. Vincent has penned two novels before this one, Burn Down, Rise Up, and We Don't Swim Here. Both books are in the YA genre. I have not read them, but they are on my TBR. We Came to Welcome You is Vincent's first adult novel. So first, let's talk about the book cover. We see the welcoming committee presenting a pie. The pie has an eye, roots, insects, and blood. This lets us know off the rip that this neighborhood is very suspect. When I moved into my current neighborhood, which also has an HOA, we were greeted with snickerdoodle cookies from our neighbors. That is a whole lot better than being presented with this pie. Let's get into the summary of We Came to Welcome You. So Reyes has faced a tough year. A string of incidents at her university lab has led to a plagiarism accusation, resulting in her being placed on probation. Regular visits to the nursing home to see her bigoted father are taking a toll on her mental health, and she realizes that her nightly glass of wine is now turning into an all-day and sometimes whole bottle affair. In contrast, her wife Alice remains hopeful that everything will work out and that Sol should just take this time to relax. After all, they have finally succeeded in buying a home in the lovely community of Mainless Grove, and the price was unbelievable. This is another clue that all that glitters isn't gold. The neighbors seem friendly enough, if not a little too friendly. Three of them show up to greet Sol and Alice with a welcome basket and a HOA agreement. Sol and Alice are not planning to join the pushy homeowners association, their ridiculously detailed contract, or their never-ending microaggressions. Eventually, Alice attributes their pursuit to the community motto, invest in a neighborly spirit, which only serves to irritate Sol more. Moved in, and with all of this extra time on her hands, Sol starts to notice things in the neighborhood that she can't explain nor wrap her head around. For example, every time she ventures out, it takes longer and longer for her to get back home. It doesn't help that the houses are identical, even down to the curtains and the furniture. The neighborhood children act creepy and are never in school, and their parents are never at home. Also, there are aspen trees throughout the neighborhood, and each tree seems to be identical from leaf to branch to trunk and spaced at measured intervals. Sol tries to explain these anomalies to Alice, but Alice is slowly morphing into one of the creepy neighbors. Are these mysterious occurrences real? Is it the stress of being laid off? Is it the stress of dealing with her father? Or could it be a combination of all three that is causing Sol's mental health to be on a sharp decline? It's gotten to the point where Sol can't trust what her eyes are seeing. Let's meet our characters. If you're new here, this is the part of the video where I give visual representations of the characters. These images are not what the author has provided, but my own interpretation from the physical descriptions in the book and the stock photos found on Canva. Our first character is Marisol Reyes. She is a Dominican molecular biologist at Yale whose expertise is in parasites. We see this play out as the novel progresses. Marisol sees problems and impossibility. Due to her skin color and style of dress, she doesn't want to be seen as aggressive. We notice that at times Sol will let her wife do the talking. Microaggressions are like darts, and Sol is the target. Those same microaggressions happened at work. A new employee by the name of Clark has come in, and all of a sudden, Sol's work is being questioned. Work results that she normally triple checks have now become subpar. Sol can't prove it, but she believes this employee is responsible. We learn later that Sol hated moving because it reminded her of her childhood. Each move would consist of a group of church ladies and the rosary moving throughout their home, praying, and asking any bad spirits to leave. To be honest, I think with all that was going on, having the house blessed wasn't such a bad idea. We also get a look at Sol's upbringing. Her queer lifestyle was not approved by her parents and almost cost her her life. Our next character is Sol's wife, Alice Song. Alice is Korean and has a six-figure job in marketing at a tech company. Being the total opposite of Sol, Alice always sees optimism and joy. She grew up in South Korea with her parents, moved to Toronto with her aunt, and then to Connecticut to attend Yale. She does not want to be seen as the stereotypical meek or submissive Korean female. Alice and Sol met when they were roommates at Yale. They went from being roommates to being married. And to be honest, I don't think they really knew each other well enough to get married. Each person in this relationship has secrets and animosity toward the other, and this was before the strange happenings in the neighborhood. Next, we have Teresa, Hope, and Eugene, who are the first neighbors to stop by, and also the welcoming committee. They are very insistent on Sol and Alice signing the HOA contract, but when asked about the benefits, they can only say, "Oh, we get discounts on wine and on the fines in the neighborhood." Finally, we have Nadine, who is Alice's co-worker and friend. Nadine is also the HOA president. She is always around Alice and always has a slick comment when it comes to Sol. Nadine is pregnant and uses it as an excuse to not be around whenever there's a gathering. We learn later that there's a reason for this. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper in the story and let's see if I can do this with no spoilers. Let's dig into the HOA rules. Number 1, lawns must be properly maintained, absent of any weeds, with grass no longer than 2.5 inches long. The aspen trees found on every property cannot be removed, harmed, or even pruned without prior written approval of the association. Herbicides used must be on the approved list found on page 3 of this contract. Number 2, personal gardens are not allowed as they may attract bees and other pests. However, homeowners do have access to the community garden as well as the proper gear needed if they so wish. Number 3, no political slogans of any kind are allowed on lawns, in windows, or any places that can be seen by the public. Number 4, in the event that the homeowners wish to renovate their homes, they must consult the association beforehand with detailed plans, including the hours that construction workers can be found on the premises. And number 5, If homeowners wish to paint their homes, they must receive prior approval from the association and only utilize neutral colors. In return, members of the association have access to the community garden, mini golf, and other amenities at a reduced to no cost. See the list of amenities on page 4. If a member is found in violation of any of the above agreements, they will be fined. I was shocked to see that joining the HOA of Mainless Grove was optional. In my neighborhood, it's basically mandatory once you purchase your home. One of the things that I did notice that was weird in the Mainless HOA is that they request that you give them a spare key. Now, if the HOA that I moved into would have suggested that, I would have found somewhere else to go. Mainless Grove has the neighborhood motto, Invest in a Neighborly Spirit. The idea was to cultivate good habits of checking in on your neighbors and making sure everyone was taken care of. I don't think that that's a bad idea at all, especially if you have, neighbors that are elderly. It's a good idea to check on them, especially if they live alone. I saw a written review where the reviewer felt that the restrictions for a bonfire potluck were a symbolism of control. But I saw it more as symbolism of assimilation. The requirements were for the dish to be keto approved, low carb, gluten free, sugar free, nut free, and the list goes on. In the beginning of the book, Sol jokes that she may start eating quinoa as a way to connect with her neighbors. She then says she's willing to bet that at least one neighbor is on an all paleo or keto diet. After moving in, we see Alice cooking with ingredients commonly found in Korean and Dominican cultures. Sol even mentions that Goya seasoning, a staple in their household, cannot be used for the potluck. As the book progresses, we see Alice is prepping quinoa and their beloved culinary ingredients are no longer being used. This made me look deeper at Alice's character. She is described as not wanting to seem weak and submissive, but her assimilation was very quick and apparent. She even stopped speaking Korean with her family. It was almost as if she had forgotten the language. It makes me wonder, how was the neighborhood able to transition her so quick? Is it because Sol was never really around the other neighbors? Or was it because of the skepticism from the get-go? The premise of the book was intriguing, and the book had a nice pace until the middle. It seemed to drag on and repeat. It did little to explain what was going on in the neighborhood. Uh, I was almost to the point of believing that Sol's drinking and her fragile mental state should be questioned. Then we get toward the end, and Sol comes up with a master plan to right everything in the neighborhood, pretty much leaving the reader wondering, how did the plan play out? I believe it should have been developed more. So, with all of that being said, I gave We Came to Welcome You 2 stars. The climax was underdeveloped, and the ending fell flat. I saw that most reviews on Goodreads complained of Sol's character being racist against white people, but the readers totally ignored the racism that Sol faced from the neighbors and at her job. Most were even saying that Sol was whining, which is ironic because that is the exact thing that those readers were doing. They were literally wanting Sol to do what the HOA was wanting her to do, which was to assimilate. How crazy is that? What are your thoughts on We Came to Welcome You? Did you know that the book would end the way it did? Have you read Vincent's other novels? Drop down in the comments and let me know. That ends today's review. I'm so glad that you decided to spend this time with me. Until we meet again, thank you for visiting Robin's Reading Nest, where birds of a feather read together.